Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to have another young Indian with us, part of the Voice of the Young series. Right now, we have with us Kunal Mathur. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Kunal.
Thank you, Dr. Subodh, for inviting me to this wonderful platform. So I'm just going to start with a basic introduction, and then I'm going to talk about my main topic. So my name is Kunal Mathur. I'm 26 years old, and I have finished my bachelor's from Delhi Technological University, which was formerly called DCE. And I belong to New Delhi, and then I moved on to pursue my master's in mechanical mechatronics engineering to TU Delft. I also have a work experience of 2 years in the automotive and energy industries, and a brief research experience as well. So in this presentation, I'm gonna I'm gonna mostly talk about goal progression. I'm gonna talk about progression. What I mean is how an engineer, like for example me, can form his or her goals, and each and every goal that we form is is just basically a modification of the previous one. And this is to maximize success and to deal with the challenges that we face. So I'm going to take my own example in this journey where I formed five different goals and what the challenges that I faced during my journey, be it bachelor's, be it school, be it work experience, or be it graduate experience. So moving on. So my journey, just like everyone else, it started in the ninth grade, and that is where we had more difficulties in science and math subjects, and physics was something which triggered an interest in science and technology, at least for me. So I was very fascinated when I used to read about subatomic particles, and then I used to solve classical mechanical equations, classical mechanics, and I was pretty good at it. And this particular aptitude triggered an interest in engineering and technology in the first place. But triggering an interest was not enough at that stage. And the the sole the sole driving force for passion for studies was mainly competition. Competition was very fierce especially in Delhi schools. It was very fierce with the CBSE board, and it's typical in our country. We have a lot of comparative exams, and that keeps us on the edge. That motivates us to perform. Our school did something different apart from all of this. We had a merit system over there. So if people are scoring, let's say 85% and above, they used to get scholar batches. So you used to get like fancy coat pockets that you kept over here with the Indian flag, and then you got a blue colored blazer, different from a normal green one. And then someone would get an orange blazer, someone would get a gold medal if he was better. So this used to really motivate us to improve ourselves and to compete with other people, with other batchmates, and move forward. So for me, like, I was never good at studies before the ninth grade. I was mostly average. But after this trigger that happened because of subatomic physics, classical mechanics, I was pushed into the stream of competition. And I think once you're inside the stream, it's very hard to get out. So fast forward to class 11th and 12th. Uh, Now we had a new competition in our hands, which is the infamous joint engineering entrance exams, JEE. I'm sure I'm messing up the full form, but yeah. So this is the exam where you perform well. If you get a good enough rank, you get a higher college, you get a better rank college, IITs, NITs, and then and so on. So for 2 years, 11th and 12th, we were studying like anything. We were studying all the day because we had to deal with school exams and then JEE practice sessions both at the same time. And in Delhi, these JEE coaching centers are very, very common. So over here, if you notice carefully, what's going on is there is a streamlined mechanism for success. What I mean is there is a common goal which has been established for everyone, even for me. And that goal is to get a very good engineering college, maybe the IITs. And everyone is running towards that goal. So we didn't set that goal. Uh, it is there, and it's a rat race. It's a good rat race because you are getting a really good college. So I was a part of this race, and then luckily I got admission to DTU, formerly known as Delhi College of Engineering, and I got the mechanical engineering branch, which was my first choice at that time. So now I'm just gonna share what I made again. Yeah. Okay. The first goal was competitive drive, and the goal was to perform satisfactory or good in this. So competitive drive satisfaction was the first goal that all of us saw. And then after my admission, I noticed something strange. Like this streamlined success mechanism is no longer there, and there are different metrics for success now. And what we have is that uh, there are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of new avenues to explore, so we can go anywhere we want. So the thing is, wherever you go is defined by your interest. And if you don't have one, if you don't have an interest which is preset, then wherever you end up going in your undergrad is going to define who you will be in the next 4 years and beyond as well. So for example, I didn't have any hobbies or extracurricular activities. I was pretty I had a lot of options in front of me. I could join the debating club, I could join some sport, I could join some music society, I could join something which is very technical, like building vehicles and so on. So now I quickly understood that if a person has his or her goals figured out at this point, if he or she knows what she's going to do at this point, that is a very good situation to be in, as opposed to being just a member of the streamlined success mechanism which was there. So now you're free to chart out your own goals and journeys. So, with that being said, I always wanted to do something extra, something apart from the classes, like something beyond classroom, which everyone would do. And I was lucky enough to get membership into Team Inferno DTU. Uh, Sorry, my screen just went off, and I'm gonna share it again. Yeah.
Yeah, you you got membership into what? Oh, Team Inferno. Okay. All
Yes.
right.
I was going to share my screen, but
Yeah, okay.
this is so tech teams. Tech teams are a very common word in engineering colleges. What it means is there are a lot of societies or a group of students, usually a very big group of students. They are involved into manufacturing, designing, or developing a vehicle or a robot or a machine, right? Because it's an engineering college. And usually you would go and take these things to competitions
Hmm,
where you would succeed, where you would be ranked. And
hmm.
for us, Team Inferno DTU was our university's first go-kart manufacturing, racing, and designing team. So we used to design, manufacture, and test go-karts from scratch. And over here, you can see on the screen, this is an engine model which we purchased, and we built this transmission assembly all by ourselves
Yeah,
in the first year of engineering.
yeah.
So, and over here you can see the final assembled vehicle with our driver in place, and he's ready to get a race and win these awards, which you can see over here.
So, Kunal, what's innovative about it? The chain is the mechanism for transmission, right?
Yes, that's correct. The chain
No.
sprocket assembly over here.
Yeah. So, what's the innovation? Tell us about
Well,
it.
the innovation, it wasn't something very novel. It was
Yeah,
something very out of the blue. This is something that already did exist.
yeah,
So we were more competitive. And in
yeah,
terms of innovation, we had some stuff like some additional things like uh, we had a fuel measurement sensor, which was not done by previous teams.
yeah,
So it was a local innovation. It wasn't
yeah.
something global. It was
Okay,
something very out of the blue.
okay,
So we had like additional machine vision technologies to identify where is the stop sign, where is the go ahead sign. So
okay,
all of these were the cherry on top.
okay.
Our innovations were very local. For example, we were aiming for the lightest chassis weight.
Yeah,
We were aiming for a very high power by weight ratio. So these were
yeah,
these were our aims at that time. So I
Yeah.
was in the first year of my engineering,
Yeah.
and I was barely 18, I guess.
Yeah.
And the challenge for me at that time was I joined 2 months late, which means I had to study 2 months worth of engineering in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And these were subjects which were from the third year or the second year of engineering, and I was just a fresher at that time.
Yeah.
So with a lot of hit and trials, I integrated myself into this team,
Yeah.
and I was surrounded by people who were a lot better than me,
Yeah.
and I managed to make a place for myself over there. And for the first time, I got the feeling that, okay, we have built something from scratch here. This was my first stint ever because I did nothing in my school, nothing like this in my school at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the satisfaction of building something from scratch, having it to race till speeds like 60 kilometers per hour,
Wow. Okay.
and winning awards was something which was very fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
And I thought I could not do it
Yeah.
before. And then fast forwarding later on, we started building Mars rover prototype vehicles. So
Yeah.
this is a
Yeah.
robotic vehicle over here.
Yeah.
So this was much later on. This is how the team evolved.
Yeah.
And I did something else which was new for me as well.
Yeah.
Uh, I, s- I started working in the corporate part of this team Inferno. What it means is I was the person who was made responsible for internal and external partnerships for
Yeah.
securing sponsors,
Yeah.
funding in cash and kind. And
Yeah.
this was something which was never done by this team before.
Yeah.
So very quickly, like in 6 or 7 months, we became the first tech team in our college, in our
Yeah.
entire history of college,
Yeah.
to gain so many sponsors in so little amount of time.
Yeah.
And I did this. While I did this, I realized that, hey, I used to be an introvert before.
Yeah.
And now, fast forward, like the end of my first year, I have a lot of friends. I have a good technical background. I've made these vehicles with my team from scratch. I have a team working experience. Then I have also secured big names such as Motul, ONGC, and Bajaj Allianz, and so on. And we are going out for meetings, wearing formals, meeting corporates, signing deals, securing money. This was very new for me, and this did not just only helped me break my shell, but this also made me realize that you can actually achieve anything that you want just by a little bit of determination and careful working and respecting others. So this is something that started making my future journey from this point. So now there was a problem which I faced, and the problem was that I used to over invest time in this team. So I was working over here like maybe 14 hours a day daily, and what this meant was I wasn't giving enough attention to academics, to studies, to college education, for which we were all enrolled in the university, right? So my CGPA was around 7, which is not considered a very good CGPA if you want to get placed into a good company or have a good master's ambition abroad. So all of these opportunities, like all of these doors, were slowly closing in front of me, and I was not caring because I was happy with all of these achievements. And I was kind of living in a bubble where this is everything and everything else is, I mean, yeah, everyone is studying, everyone is gaining marks, and this is something new, and I'm happy with this new stuff. And this was a very wrong approach at that time. But I was very fortunate enough to have very helpful and very strict seniors at the same time. So they rounded me up, and they opened my eyes to reality. They showed me what I was doing, because they were my seniors. They could see their seniors getting placed and getting rejected, right? So I was unaware of this reality. I was unaware of these doors closing in front of me, these opportunities closing in front of me, just because I chose not to study, just because I chose to study less at that time. So when this meeting happened, I was pretty shaken up. I was pretty serious at that time. And I thought I should maybe uh, revamp my focus. I should reprioritize my things. I should work towards balancing rather than compromising. So I started studying the right way. had the best guidance, I had the best seniors, I had very good professors as well. When I started studying within just a semester, I jumped from a 7 CGPA to a 9 or a 9.5 CGPA, which ended up balancing my overall cumulative CGPA at the end, and I secured an 8.3.
Wow.
So this not only helped me allow to sit for placements, it gave me a distinction as well,
Yeah.
because of which I was able to make my career till this point.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have these helpful seniors with me in my team to guide, and if they were a bit less strict, then this would not have been the case. So I needed that shove, I needed that push.
Yeah.
So this was really good. But now coming back to where we started this presentation, coming back to the goals part of it, I formed the second goal of my life, which was during engineering undergrad. This was to become a capable automotive engineer and build a rapport in advanced mobility.
Yeah.
At this point, I had successful internships in Maruti Suzuki, Ashok Leyland, and all these, and Team Inferno D2 as well, which you just saw. I thought of taking this up a notch. So I thought of doing something new. Let's break this cycle. So I thought of doing something that no one has ever done before, and this was to try for a research internship. Not a research internship, but something which is different from a research internship. It involves a company. So we developed a project idea or a project proposal. I asked one of my friends to accompany me in this as well. The project proposal was electric vehicles are very rare in India in 2018. That's where we were sitting. And in 2018, electric buses were virtually not there.
Right.
And we thought, let's take a long range electric bus, which you can use to travel from Delhi to all these hill stations, which are like 6, 7 hours away.
Right.
And let's install a food heating system or a thermally managed system inside. So your
Yeah.
food will be at a particular temperature, not
Yeah.
too hot, neither too cold. And let's install it in that electric bus. And the way it would work is it would use the cooling system or the heating system of this electric bus to divert small amounts of power to preserve the temperature of the food.
Right.
Now, we knew at that time this is not a very good idea because this is very random. And yeah, I mean, this is not really required. I mean, this is not a very critical problem. We were aware of this idea, but the idea was not to develop the heating system, but the idea was to get noticed by a company while attempting to solve this problem. This was the idea at that time. So when I said that we were thinking of doing something different, by something different, what we meant was apart from all these tech teams and apart from all these internship options that we have respectively, we would partner with a company to develop something new, something like a research project, company assisted research project. So we took our proposal. We knew very little about electric buses because it was all kept confidential at that time, understandably. And that is why we were banking on this food heating idea to get inside an inner circle, an
Right.
inner industrial circle,
Right.
so that we could be offered a different project and we could work for that. So now we were in a meeting with a very top official of a renowned electric bus company in New Delhi itself, and we pitched this project to him. Now, at the expense of this, we got an insight of how the electric bus market is at the moment, and electric buses were not supposed to be favorable for such long distance travels at that time. And what was being prioritized was very short range city buses. So our project nevertheless had to be thrown away. But the idea was to get to this meeting. So now we are in this meeting, we are talking to this person, and now our aim is to impress this person who's sitting in front of us, make him believe that we are capable enough to do any project that you hire us for. So he said, since you're new in this electric vehicle or electric bus domain, why don't you do one thing? There is a network of electric bus in central Delhi somewhere, right? So you go over there, board a bus, see whether your heating system is sensible in terms of dimensions or not. Is there space in the bus? That was the idea. And we couldn't find any reliable Google images or anything, so
Yeah.
we really had to go there. That
Right.
seemed like a good option, a reasonable option.
Yeah.
And our and what we wanted, so we were just second year engineers, and we wanted to really impress this person who works in an actual company.
Yeah.
And we went over there. We started hunting for these buses. We went to the bus depot. We asked, where is this bus? Do you know बिजली वाली buses जो चलती हैं? आपको मालूम है क्या? So we were asking like this, and most of the people, they were not cooperative, or they did not know what we were talking about. So it was very hard to track these buses. We spent 1 hour roaming around from depot to depot in search of
Yeah.
these buses.
Yeah.
Finally, we got hold of one bus at a particular red light, and it had stopped over there. It was a traffic light. So we darted across the street. We were running like anything, and we were almost about to catch that bus, but my shoe came off. My shoe, it started flying in the air, and I had to stop because I can't go anywhere without my shoe. And then we lost the bus, and we spent 1 more hour looking for these buses here and there. So we saw another bus. We started following this bus. We were running across. People must have thought we were crazy, but we had our own reasons,
Yeah.
and we really wanted to impress this person and get this
Yeah.
opportunity. So we were
Yeah.
running like anything. We were stopped by the traffic police as well once,
Yeah.
and we followed a bus into a narrow lane. We
Yeah.
lost the bus. Some street dogs started chasing us, and it was, yeah, I mean, well, we did really make a fool of ourselves that day. Luckily, when one of my friends, like, he was just about to give up, he was about to go back to our hostel, a bus did appear from the backside in front of us, and we started screaming in joy. We caught that bus, we climbed inside, and then now we were so excited, we started taking photos and videos of this bus, of the interiors of the bus
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there were passengers sitting inside. They were scared of us.
Yeah.
I swear. So we were measuring the dimensions of the bus. Okay, this is where we could place our system. This is where
Yeah.
we could do this. Running across, and
Yeah.
people were really scared over there. Uh, Understandably. So finally, we reverted back to the person, and we found out that there is no position for us. But luckily, the person was very impressed by what we did. We spent like 5 hours in this thing, in this charade, and he actually recommended us to a company who was researching on electric buses.
Yeah.
Finally, we got the innovative electric bus project on our hands, and this was to develop a new regenerative braking system for a commercial electric vehicle. And this company was Ashok Leyland, by the way.
Yeah.
So Ashok Leyland hired the two of us for 8 months as research interns, and we were given the upper hand to make our own technology,
Yeah.
which is now at the moment it's patented by Ashok Leyland itself.
Yeah.
And this 8 month internship, when it ended, I really did feel that I am a lot of steps closer towards achieving this second goal of mine over here, which is
Yeah.
to have a rapport in advanced mobility.
Yeah.
And this kind of opened my doors towards the electric vehicle space. Now, electric vehicle space at that time in 2019 in India was very small, and
Yeah.
it's kind of exclusive as well. So people knew other people, and I was getting noticed as the student, I should say, as
Yeah.
the motivated student over there. So I started building my own network in this small EV space at that time. And this would later on help me in my early career. So my early career, I faced a couple of challenges. Sorry. Yeah. So had an option of continuing with an offer from a big multinational company. This was on campus, so everything was sorted out by my university itself. And on the other hand, I had an option of continuing with a cutting edge EV startup where I got an opportunity with the network that I started building before. So for a few months before my graduation, I did start working for this particular startup, and I used to have 16-hour working, 16-hour long weekdays and 8-hour long weekends. And this was by choice. Like I really did want to work because I was given the responsibility to develop the entire electric powertrain from scratch. So I was the only person who was working. There was one person before me, and I had to repeat his work, and I had to do everything from scratch. So this was
mm,
really exciting. Like I was
mm,
given the sole responsibility
mm,
to build the powertrain, select the motor of a new two-wheeler electric vehicle
mm,
from scratch. And this was supposed to be a redefinition of the scooter concept which we have
sure.
in India.
Yeah, yeah.
So because of the high amounts of responsibility that I was given, I was naturally motivated to work 16 hours a day.
Mm,
And over here, I was building connections with smaller companies, other startups,
mm,
electric vehicle consultancy organizations, which were also new in India.
mm.
And I was really feeling connected to this goal that I had mine, which was to have a good rapport in the EV industry.
Yeah.
So now, my internship was about to end at this particular startup, and I was about to transition into a full-time role. And I had a couple of trade-offs in my mind. So what I noticed was, uh, if I work for a startup, it is going to be with full dedication because I can empathize with the founder. He is investing in me. I should be able to reciprocate that, and my responsibilities should not be divided. So this is the trade-off which I saw in front of me. And these are the pros of joining a huge multinational company or a small cutting edge EV startup. So uh, if I would have discontinued my startup, I would be gaining a lot of time for master's preparation, which I actually wanted to do to achieve this aim of mine, which was to develop a rapport in automotive engineering. I could not do it with just a bachelor's degree. I did feel a knowledge gap that I needed to fill. So the first thing was very important. I needed preparation time for my master's and application time as well. And then there are other advantages like comfort, benefits which you get from working in a large company. It was a remote working opportunity because of COVID, which was there. It was a higher pay opportunity. It would have been with a much refined working culture, I should say, because it was an American company at that time. And then, of course, the working pressure would have been like one-fifth less than what I would have experienced in a startup. And on the other hand, if I would have joined the startup, I would be much closer to my goal, which was to which was to have some success in automotive technologies. Because the huge MNC was not in automotive, it was in some other industry. It was in the energy construction industry. And the startup would have pushed me closer to my automotive goal. The quality of work would have been much higher as an engineer, as a starting engineer, fresh out of college. And then I would have developed more skills as well. Now, the reality is, I would have selected the startup if it was not for this one particular pro over here, which was the preparation time that I actually needed to be eligible for some of these best universities abroad. So I needed a lot of time to draft my motivation letters, to actually study the prerequisites of what we need to do, and to get the documents ready. And I would not have been able to do this with a startup without compromising on my own responsibilities. This is something that I did not want to do to another founder of a company who has invested a lot in me. Because of this reason, I selected a job at a huge at the multinational company instead of the startup because it felt very logical at that time. I have finite amount of time. I need at least these many hours of master's preparation, which was infeasible in the startup direction. So this was not an easy decision, but this was a logical decision for me to proceed towards my on-campus offer. Now, this was the first mistake that I did in my career. This decision which I made, because of the opportunity cost which I had to bear in terms of knowledge. I did notice a gap when I finally joined my master's university. And I would not do this, I would not repeat this mistake before. So the mistake, if I summarize this mistake, my mistake was to abandon the path which leads to my goal and take a shortcut. This was the mistake which I did.
But Kunal,
So
you
yeah,
wait a minute. You have two goals, and the two goals are not synchronized. One is you want to get a master's degree, and the other is that you want to have knowledge. But the two are not harmonized, you know. So uh, you have to choose between the two goals, and you chose that way. But it did
yes.
help you get into a good master's program. So why are you saying it was a mistake?
So in my perspective, knowledge is something that you keep on filling
Yeah,
uh, under the belt.
yeah,
And if I would have chosen the other path,
yeah.
I would have had a much bigger collection of knowledge.
But you wouldn't have got into a good master's program.
I should have roughed it out. This is what I should have done.
Okay. You should have
Yes.
said, I should have been working 20 hours a day. What the heck? You know, because
Yes.
give 16 to the startup and 4 to the preparation. Okay. I I understand. Okay. I mean, some of us do that, not me,
Hmm.
but I understand. I just wanted to be clear that you did
Yeah.
succeed in one goal, and that's not a bad goal at all. Of course, you lost out on the other goal, but that's the trade off that we have to have at some time. And
That is
obviously,
correct.
you know, the master's degree has, uh, in a due course, given you the knowledge.
Right.
You didn't have it at the start, but you have roughed it out in the master's degree and made it up. So I wouldn't call it a mistake. I would say that it's a choice that allowed you to stumble through and finally come to the right place, as I read it.
Uh, yeah. Uh, I suppose we can see it from that lens. But the problem was that when I joined the company, I did notice a lot of people were there. So I am habitual of an environment where people are better than me, and I get the guidance. And so this is what I wanted. But what I got in return was a lot of people who were senior to me, and their sole motivation was money. And they were not really connected to what they were doing in engineering wise.
Right.
And having faced, having been pushed in such an environment early on in my career, right after college, was a mistake.
Okay. I
But
that part I agree.
instead, yeah,
I agree with that part. That you know your first job shouldn't be such a misaligned with your long-term goal. I agree. Okay.
yes.
Let's
So it
move
was
on.
this misalignment
Yeah.
that was, yeah,
Okay. Let's move on.
right. Okay. So now, while I was working for this company, I was feeling this disconnect. I worked over there for 1.5 years, slightly longer, and I noticed a lot of things going on over there. And I thought, why wait for 1.5 years? Let's not lose touch of our goals, right? I'm not the one to put my goals on pause just to wait for that master's degree. So what I did was uh, using my network that I built in the EV space, me along with a couple of other people, senior people as well, we built a startup from scratch, which was called Mobility Alliance and Social Sustainability, or MAS Foundation. And this was alongside my full-time job. So during office hours, I used to work for the company, and then during night time, I used to work for the startup over here. So this was a tool to compensate for this misalignment which I was doing in my career.
Right.
This was a compensatory mechanism.
Correct.
And this was also us utilizing a critical market gap which we saw in the EV industry at that time.
Yeah.
Late 2020, when the world was almost thinking it was recovering from COVID, we thought, okay, the EV industry is a little bit damaged by this pandemic, and we should take out this time, utilize this remote working architecture to build such an organization. We didn't have any fixed costs. We didn't have any office. So it was completely remote. People joined from all parts of the country.
Yeah.
And and this was a Section 8 company, which means it's an NGO, it's a non-profit organization. So there would have been no legal issues with our full-time office, with a full-time job. So we had space to experiment things out. I was given the responsibility of heading the strategy division. And I was also an electric vehicle engineer because by education and by interest, I am an engineer. This was for the first time that I did something which was related to management. Now, a lot of my batchmates had this plan of moving towards an MBA, moving towards a management career because it's high paying. It's a bit easy. It's not unorganized like engineering
Mm.
from their perspective, not from my perspective. I like engineering.
Mm.
So for the first time, I got taste of management, how it is to how is it like to lead people, how is it like to build strategies in the internal strategies in the organization, how the organization should be structured, how is the information flow going to be inside the organization, and then I was leading two other people as well. So this was my first well-refined leadership experience as well, which I thoroughly enjoyed, by the way. And our job as an organization, being an NGO, was to facilitate policy research and policy advocacy in electric vehicles, do some data collection in electric vehicles and analyze the data. What vehicles are there? What specifications are there? Can we sell this to a clientele? Can we sell a list of available electric vehicle suppliers in India to other companies who are kind of unaware because we were leveraging our own network at that time. We had a very good EV network. We were in touch with different founders of small companies, big
Yeah.
companies, and so on. And we used to host and organize webinars, seminars in electric vehicles, topics in electric vehicles, EVs, motivating debate and discussion. We made some electric vehicle forums as well, which were joined by different people of different companies. So thousands of people were on board with an active discussion ongoing.
Mm.
And those discussions, they actually really helped me curate my own knowledge and
Mm.
prepare me for interviews, job
Mm.
interviews, and so on. So this was very new for an engineering graduate like me. I really enjoyed my experience over there. And additionally, if you talk about core technical experience, we were also opening up our own engineering consultancy and training services as well. So there was this time where we were delivering trainings to car mechanics, because the biggest problem in India is that the mechanics which are here, they have a very excellent network, right? So if your vehicle gets spoiled, you can very easily repair or service your vehicle. But same is not true for electric vehicles. So
Right.
that there is a skill gap in mechanics, and we were
Yeah.
covering that skill gap. We were training mechanics on how to
Yeah.
repair EVs, different components.
Yeah.
So this work went on for a long time. Uh, in 1.5 years, we managed to upscale ourselves from 5 members to 50 members,
Yeah.
and it was a great time. 2021 was a great time for us. We were expanding, we were hiring new people, we were building our own name in the industry. So I had this vision in mind. I I could become this successful individual in the automotive industry, have a good job at a good company after having years of startup experience. And on the other side, we have this mass foundation which is growing up and which is giving me some sort of a publicity and a network. So I had this vision in mind, but this vision was very short-lived. Unfortunately, in early 2022, we had to close down. And there were a lot of reasons for closing down, but one of those reasons were some of the critical market gaps which we identified at that time, they were not really prioritized anymore, and we had to shut down our operations. And this was a time which was right before my master's admission. Now, I started having doubts in the automotive industry. I started having doubts in my own goals and what I have done in the past. So whatever I thought was very exquisite, was very precious in the past, especially things related to mass foundation,
Hmm.
they were not that uh, they were not that precious anymore. They were not in demand anymore. This is what I felt. So because of this dynamic shift, I started thinking, was this the right choice? Was solely aiming towards electric vehicles, automotive engineering the right choice, or or should I like diversify myself into other domains like robotics and all these cutting edge technologies which we can see growing in the engineering job market? So at that time, a lot of mechanical engineers were shifting towards robotics,
Yeah.
and some were also shifting towards aerospace. Some were shifting towards mechatronics. So I was wondering. Uh, I was only focusing towards one application area, which is just electric vehicles. So it's a combination of robotics, mechatronics, and all these other domains. Would I have been in a better shape if I were to concentrate in a particular field rather than an application area? So these were the thought processes that were going on in my head. So now I was not able to find a solution to this problem because the admission was very close. What I was able to do was to I was able to modify my goal, which brings me to my brings me to my third goal that happened during my early career, post undergrad, was to develop knowledge and capabilities for not vehicles, not automotive, not cars, but for general advanced mobility. Advanced mobility is something which contains military vehicles, tanks, planes, aerospace, trains, hyperloops, all of those things. So I thought, okay, I should maybe stop narrowing myself down to electric vehicles, electric scooters, and I should broaden my vision and to develop my rapport in advanced mobility in general. I know that I've written advanced mobility twice, but it was just to broaden myself and develop capabilities first. So let's forget about the application area. And because my education is starting, my aim should be purely academic at this point. So my aim was to develop knowledge and capabilities. It was not to build rapport, or it was not to think about my career, bolstering my career, strengthening my career, because I don't know what my career is going to be now because of this automotive doubt. What I can do at this point, right before my education, is to gain knowledge. And then I would be at a better stage after my master's to decide what to do with this knowledge because now I'm capable enough to steer myself here and there in advanced mobility. So this goal over here, the third one, is more of an exploratory goal, slightly. It's a slight exploratory goal. So I would go to college, I would go for my master's, I would figure out, is this subject better to gain capabilities in advanced mobilities? What more could I do in advanced mobility which I haven't done before, and so on. And then I would slowly observe how the industry is behaving in this particular sector. So this was my plan. I was lucky enough to get admission into TU Delft. TU Delft is a technical university in the Netherlands, and this is TU Delft is supposed to be third in the world for mechanical engineering. So I was very excited. And what TU Delft has is a research oriented program. What it means is that this program focuses on knowledge development rather than getting you ready for the industry. It focuses on skill development and knowledge development, which you can apply anywhere if you want, not just the industry, but also the academy as well. So this program was actually aligning with the aim of mine, and my aim was very short term. It was just to develop capabilities and knowledge, just to become a capable engineer, and to gauge my capabilities as well at the same time, because I don't know how much I can study. Uh, so a lot of my colleagues, they know how much they can take in, they know how much knowledge that they can. I, for one, had no idea what my limits are. So I planned to explore my limits in this university itself. So in this university, after getting admission, my program focus was not automotive engineering. Otherwise, I would have done MSc in automotive technologies. I did MSc in mechanical engineering to keep my options open and then apply towards advanced mobility. This was my aim was not to specialize in mobility anymore. It was just to apply in mobility, whatever I learned.
Hmm.
So I was studying mechatronics. I was studying something which is called as control engineering. I was studying dynamics as well. And I had a lot of electives in automotive and aerospace at the same time. And I did several projects in this university because it was a lot of practical work and a lot of theoretical work as well at the same time. So there was a lot of pressure. And it is casually said that this mechanical program is one of the hardest programs in mechanical engineering in the world. It is casually said, there is no official ranking whatsoever. But I was really enjoying over here. Uh, I started discovering my own capabilities. I saw the way with which I used to study back in India was extremely compatible over here because I used to prioritize the concepts before getting to know what the question paper would look like, forgetting about the exam pattern. So, a smart way to study in India is to see what the exam pattern is, how the questions are asked, and then accordingly study. This is a very smart way, which even I followed in my time at B.Tech. But over here in Netherlands, in TU Delft especially, the priority is given towards knowledge development. So if you prioritize on, okay, have I explored the depths of this particular concept sufficiently or not? And if the answer is yes, I'm going to score in the exams. If the answer is no, if I'm doing smart work, if I'm only looking at the pattern, if I'm only looking at the previous year questions and then figuring out what to study, then that's a very difficult scenario to be in. So my techniques were kind of validated over here when I started giving exams and scoring. And I felt like I was at home. Like I felt like, okay, this is how I can study. So I was enjoying my time at TU Delft, especially in studies. And I was hardly thinking about what are the career opportunities available. So I was only focusing on this third point over here, which is knowledge development and capability building. I was not actually looking at the job market with that much scrutiny. So in my time over here, I progressed towards Delft Hyperloop. I got a job at Delft Hyperloop, which is a student-based organization in TU Delft. So just for context, what a Hyperloop is it's the fifth mode of transportation in the world. So the first four are road, rail, sea, and air. This is the fifth one. And what it has is it has a pod where passengers can sit over here, if you can see. And there is a tube which is filled with vacuum or very little air pressure. This would enable you to travel at very fast speeds, like as fast as 1200 kilometers per hour theoretically. And it is said that you can cover, let's say, Delhi to Jaipur in less than half an hour, for just for context. And it would help you cover the distance from Amsterdam to Paris, which is now in a couple of hours. You can cover that distance in just a couple of minutes, like 15 minutes or something. I could be messing around with the numbers here and there, but this is the extent of this technology, potential extent of this technology. And hyperloops are a very hot topic in Europe nowadays, not just in Europe, but in the Middle East as well. So over here, you can see the hyperloop vehicle. This is made to move forward by electromagnetic forces, by electromagnetic coils, which are placed inside the pod and with the ferromagnetic materials or permanent magnets which are laid across the tube. So the company which is leading Hyperloop in Europe is founded by Delft Hyperloop, which is the student organization where I got the opportunity of working. I worked over here as the propulsion control engineer. I was responsible for doing system level calculations on the electromagnetic systems, and developing control algorithms on how your vehicle should move forward. So, if you notice, this is a part of advanced mobility, and this is where I was feeling very close to my third goal, which I showed you: knowledge development and capability development in advanced mobility. So I thought, okay, everything is figured out, and being a part of this elite organization would open up a lot of avenues for me in Europe, for job opportunities in Europe. But now, okay, yeah, so before I move on to my problem, what we ended up doing was we made the world's first Hyperloop lane switch for the first time. So what this is you have seen lane switches in trains, right? Trains moving
Yeah,
like this in a
yeah,
curved track.
yeah,
This was never done in Hyperloops before, and we had a proof of concept for a smaller prototype, which is scalable, and we managed to make this particular turn, this curved turn over here. You can see this
yeah,
was a live demonstration available on YouTube,
yeah.
and we got a lot of recognition for this particular invention, and things were going really well at that time. Uh, we were set to achieve awards in the competition, which was held in Zurich, Switzerland. But the problem which I personally faced was during the end of my tenure at Delft Blue. The problem was that I couldn't picture myself working for this in the future, because there were very few companies working for Hyperloop, and I couldn't. That wasn't the problem, but uh, I could not align my goals with their goals, and the way they were working was not suitable for me. The Hyperloop companies, which were my prospective employers at that time, uh, they were working on a lot of good things, a lot of innovative things, but I could not just picture myself over there. And I thought there are other things apart from these vehicles, apart from rail transportation, apart from automotive, where I should focus on. And this was not the wise way forward for me. And whatever research and development which was supposed to go on for Hyperloops would have not been in symphony with what I wanted,
Okay.
if I put it in clear terms. There were very few research bodies at that time, and they were not working on the things which I wanted to work on personally. So this was a future problem which I saw coming towards me if I would have continued on this path. This was the problem in advanced mobility. Now, in my perspective, I have saturated almost all of the advanced mobility options which I had in front of me. Sustainable vehicles, four-wheelers, three-wheelers, two-wheelers, even aviation, everything, because I wanted to do cutting-edge research, and these organizations, companies in aviation, companies in automotive, they were not working like that. And the advancements which come in electric drive technologies, which is motors, rotary motors or linear motors, they have more or less been explored in Europe. So that work has already happened. So now what to do? I wanted to do some cutting edge research in these things, but most of the things are done. And if you look at advanced mobility, things like automation and improving system intelligence are the new hot topics. But I'm not an automation engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm a mechatronics engineer, more specifically. So I saw the situation like this. Like, me and advanced mobility were at splitting ends at this point, and I realized this very quickly. So this slowly led to one of the worst phases that I've had in my professional life. So I felt like I have lost my purpose. I've lost my goal. The things which I used to love before, cars, trains, and all of that, major research has already happened, and I wanted to be a part of something more.
Hmm.
So my capabilities, which I developed before, it felt like they were not leading me to anything tangible. Everything was going well in college. Like, I was scoring well. My thesis project was going well, which was inventing a new electromagnetic actuator. and new inventions are going on, new projects are being completed by me. I'm gaining new skills. But now the problem is, where do I apply? What do I do with all of these things after I graduate? I don't have any prospect, as I can see it from my perspective. I am getting some job opportunities here and there. They are good companies, but that's not what I wanted in the first place. I wanted to be at the research front end of cutting edge technology. I'm not getting that. So, irrespective of me working hard, it felt like I'm not going towards a satisfactory end of my career. So this was a big problem, and I started overthinking a lot. I was searching for solutions here and there, could not find anything conclusive. I spent 4 months like this, 5 months like this. I used to overthink. I used to take days out just to overthink. And so I went to a career fair in my university. This was 6 months, 7, 8 months before graduation. I went to a career fair, and this was an attempt to understand what I'm feeling, to validate what I'm feeling, and to answer whatever doubts there are in my head. So I saw a lot of people, a lot of companies, big aviation companies, some startups, some automotive companies, and I had like lengthy conversations with them. I used to spend 5 hours per day in that particular career fair. I was practically talking to almost everyone. So my aim was to empathize with those people who have come over there for that career fair. They have been imparting information to a lot of inter students who are interested in their companies, but I really wanted to step inside their own shoes and figure out whether they are happy with their own company or not. Because what I want is professional satisfaction at the end of the day. And are these people getting it? So the amount in which I am overthinking, did they also do this in their days or not? This is what I wonder. Because what I can do is I can quickly stop with this overthinking, just pick up a job and then figure out whether I like this or not, and then move on to my next job and then move on to my third job, which is something which I saw in my previous organization, which was that MNC, and people did not have very good views about it. So I wondered whether this is something which is done in Europe as well or not. So what I figured out was people over there are also kind of not happy with what they have, but they have found satisfaction forcefully, eventually. This is something that I did not want to do, especially when I'm so close to graduation and I've not yet started my career after masters. So I wanted to avoid this problem before I get into this mess. So my first job was supposed to be something that I chose myself, and I wanted to continue in that particular field for the next at least a decade or so. Wanted something permanent. I wanted to commit to a particular field in engineering and to a particular application area in engineering at the same time. This is what I wanted. And people would tell me this is not possible. How can you figure everything out in just a couple of months? You don't have any superpowers. You can't do that. And I was a bit defiant in this. I started then after the career fair, I started talking to more and more people. I started talking to some people who were working in race car companies. And the thing with motorsports is if you are joining a motorsports organization, you are really interested in motorsports. This is what is said. And then I started talking to them, and I start in the sense that if you have an option to switch this company, which you by the way don't because you have 15 years of work ex, would you do that change? Would you be willing to explore more avenues which would have been more interesting to you more than motorsports? And then the answer to this question was, unfortunately, we can't do that. The word unfortunately, uh, then I realized that, okay, this overthinking actually needs to happen at this particular stage. I know overthinking is a negative word, but I can't find another word for it. But so I started burning more and more time, started taking out more and more time on figuring out what I actually want to do. and which field of engineering and which application area of engineering has a long lasting scope, because automotive did not. Automotive has moved on to automation and robotics. So I was finding a replacement. And this led me to my next goal, which was to find the path and develop my capabilities at the same time. So this is a much more exploratory goal than the previous one. And this is not a tangible thing. This is not a solid goal. This is not something which I can measure on a scale. And I could hardly ever know that this goal has been achieved or not. So this was a very dangerous goal which I set for myself, to develop my capabilities while finding a proper career path for myself. So now this led to an insane schedule, where I would spend so much time talking to people, talking to professors, because I am in that environment, talking to seniors on which career path did you choose and why, and a lot of self-reflection as well. Eventually, I stumbled upon spaceflight dynamics and control as a new career option. What this means is this is basically a blend of whatever I studied, whatever capabilities that I have developed in the past because of my interest in dynamics and control and mechatronics, and to apply it in space. Space is a very novel environment, it's a novel domain, and this application area is supposed to be evergreen till at least my lifetime, as far as I can see, because everything is new over there. All the spacecrafts which are built are significantly different from each other depending upon their purpose. And when I say spacecraft, I mean uh, uh, which are earthbound, low Earth orbit, high Earth orbit, and the kind of satellites which you send outside, spaceships as well, which could be manned, re-entry vehicles. There are a lot of possibilities. And this field is not going to be saturated soon because we have not explored space, right? Space is practically infinite. You would want to go to the nearby solar system as well. You would want to send something which is outside of our own galaxy at some point. So the research scope of this field was infinite. I was finding a field which has a very big research scope, and space was the answer. So what I did was I was set to graduate in August. I didn't delay, I extended my graduation a bit more because of other reasons and because of me wanting to pursue a third specialization as well, which was space flight. So I started taking extra courses in the middle of my thesis, in the middle of my ongoing thesis. This was a big risk on my thesis because completing research and thesis on time is a big challenge at TU Delft. So I took this challenge. I extended my degree a little bit, and I should do my thesis and my space flight specialization at the same time. And I was also exploring some job opportunities in space flight dynamics just to see whether this is the right choice for me or not. This led to a 16-hour work schedule. And to be honest, I was still willing to answer this question of mine whether I have found the right career path or not. And because uh, because this is not a fixed goal, this is not a tangible goal, this is not something which you can measure on a scale. This particular goal was easily met with overambition, because whenever we set goals which are related to capability findings, it leads to an overambition scenario, and then the balancing of schedules like social life and health considerations, the entire balancing goes down the drain. So this particular career goal of mine was a victim of overambition, which compromised my balancing to a very large extent. This this led me to a big compromise on my own health as well, physical health, because I wasn't giving myself enough time to relax, to
Mm,
take breaks,
mm,
to cook healthy food.
mm,
And then I was also met with saturation. Like I thought, how could I be saturated with my own work when I am actually enjoying my work? I'm enjoying my thesis. My thesis is going well. I'm enjoying these new subjects, these spacecraft related subjects. I'm really enjoying this. How can I be saturated? How can I be tired at the end of the day? So I was very confused, and so this went on and on and on, because over ambition through balancing of the table, my social life also started getting affected. I was I was hardly able to meet any of my friends during a long period, and that had a devastating effect, especially when I'm living abroad. So this was I kind of overestimated myself in this scenario, and slowly I started seeing that this is a very endless process. I could be carrying this fourth goal with myself through the rest of my career, and I would always be a victim of over my own over ambition. So there is no end to this, and then there is no reward to this as well. I would never know when I have achieved my goal. This is an endless goal, right? There's no end point. So I saw that there is no end to this. There's no reward to this. What happened was I took a trip to the US. It was a family outing, and when I went to the US, I always used to think that people are more ambitious in the States as compared to Europe. And I thought the States would have been a better option for me because uh, I've known career ambition and career passion through most of my 17 plus years, and I would relate more to people over there. And people in Europe are are not are not over ambitious. They are very well in what they do, but they're not highly ambitious people, especially in the Netherlands. So I had this conception about the States before. So I actually did saw people who are hardworking. I went to MIT, some really passionate people over there. I I, I only had limited conversation with people, but I could figure out people are much more ambitious than what I have seen in my university. So I got this perspective in my head. I returned back to Europe. At one side, Europe has a very chill lifestyle, and on the other side, the States offers a very ambitious lifestyle. Which one is better? Now, it's an easy answer. Both have their own pros and cons. So something in the middle is obviously better. But now I started thinking, like, why would I be in a situation where I would sacrifice my ambition for a better life? How is that a better life in the first place? Because if I do this, if I imbibe this stop caring about the outcome mindset which Europe teaches you, wouldn't I be compromised in my own career ambitions? Would I have a better career in that? Would I be a worse engineer afterwards? Or would I be a better engineer if I am ambitious? So these were all the questions which are going on in my head non-stop continuously. So one day a lot of conversations were playing in my head. I was in the field of my neighborhood in the Netherlands. And then I noticed like a lot of professors would live nearby my home, right? So I quickly noticed one thing. There were some professors who were really balanced. They led a very balanced lifestyle. They were really happy. And then there were professors who would be constantly burdened by their work, by their own work. I would not use the word burden at that time. I would just use the word, okay, this guy is over passionate, over ambitious, and is really attached with the outcome of his or her own work. But then I saw, but something that I slowly realized, not suddenly, if I achieve all of my career ambitions, if I have like I have a career fantasy of mine. So if I'm a very accomplished scientist at, let's say, NASA or something, I have everything that I want. I have a top research profile. I have that position of responsibility over there. My colleagues respect me. So imagine if I have all of these things. The question is, would I be happy? Well, because I used to ask this question to myself because my peak happiness moments before have been a result of career accomplishments. The satisfaction that you get after a milestone has been achieved, whether it was Team Inferno DTO, whether it was Delft Hyperloop. whether it was my startup. So my answer was, yeah, I mean, I would be 80-90% happy. What is wrong with having a very high accomplished career in NASA or something like that? But then I noticed, what if I am this accomplished person with a compromised social life, with a compromised health, with compromised relations with people? The answer was I would not have been happy because that is not who I am. I do like to maintain my social relations. I would like to maintain my health in the future as well. So the answer was absolutely no. I would not be happy. Even if I have the best accomplishments in the best research organization in the world. So then I asked myself, why is this goal number 4 leading me towards this path? This is an endless path. This is either an incomplete goal or it's a wrong goal. It's either one of these things. So I thought this should change very soon. This I should demolish this goal very soon. Otherwise, I will not be in a very good situation after my graduation. So all of these things were happening 4 months before my graduation, and I was thinking a lot. Then I realized I talked to a lot of professors of mine. Then I realized that if you stop caring about the outcome, and only focus on your responsibilities, what you like to do, what you feel, what you feel nice in doing professionally, and stop caring about what you cannot control, then you would have a better career, not just a better career, a better life as well. So this is something which is very obvious, right? I mean, we've seen these things, we've heard of these things. I've read this in Bhagavad Gita as well, uh, excerpt from Mahabharata, I suppose. So if you stop caring about the outcome and if you only focus on what you are supposed to do, you'll have a better journey. Uh, and you'll have a better outcome as well at the same time. This was always known to me. This is a very common thing. But what I could not understand is how would this lead me towards a better outcome? Then I would start working hard less. And how is that a better outcome if I start caring less about my work? So it was only after a lot of these observations which I saw in people which professor of mine is happy and successful, which professor of mine is successful but unhappy. All of this I saw, and then I saw this as the next possible necessary goal which I should have in mind. So what I should do is I should abolish outcome oriented goals, which was basically all four of these, and then I should establish process oriented goals because I will only focus upon micro improvements. Obviously, they will be well planned. I would have short term and long term goals, but I would try to be a better engineer day by day while doing what I love, not caring about the outcome. This is what I saw as a necessary step for me in my 25. I was 25 at that time. So I saw that we would have a much more balanced lifestyle if this is imbibed. Because a balanced lifestyle was never an option with this goal number 3 and goal number 4. This would have only possible if I would have abolished these things. So this led me to my fifth goal type, which is progress orientation, not caring about the outcome. This is the path where I saw that this is the path where I can have a good career, a satisfactory career, without the compromisation on health, on social life, and all these other things which I want in myself. So now this observation, I could not have realized this if I were anywhere else other than the Netherlands. This is the beauty of it. That too in 25. So I had this realization when I was 25, only because of the Netherlands. So this change was very hard for me because I have always been in a very highly competitive environment, whether it was entrance examinations for engineering or it was tech team cultures for different Indian universities. So there was always a cutthroat competition, even in startup space in India. So this was next to impossible for me to imbibe, thanks to the Netherlands and thanks to TU Delft, the culture that it intends to imbibe to students. I picked this up. I managed to pick this up right before my graduation. Although I have not yet started implementing this because such a big change right before my graduation would have compromised on my own uh, progress, and I would not know how to control this goal in terms of uh, how do I continue working hard as I used to work before, while ensuring balancing. So this change, I had to delay this change till my graduation, and then after graduation, I thought I should imbibe this in myself. So finally, uh, with uh, using the goal number 4, even though I knew it is wrong, I managed to achieve the third specialization of space flight before my master's, and then I proceeded towards my graduation, securing a cum laude, a distinction in my degree. But before I could appear for my private defense, there was a feeling that hit me. I am set to postpone goal number 5 till my graduation. So I thought I'll deal with this afterwards. This is a very good realization. I should write this down. I will deal with this after my graduation. But now, before my graduation could take place, a thought suddenly hit me in my mind. I was very outcome oriented. I suddenly realized that I no longer care what grade I receive, whether I receive that distinction or not, whether I achieve my XYZ aim which I had in my thesis project or not, whether I achieve a patent or not, I would not care anymore because I am happy with how I did my work and I liked my journey of my thesis. I ended up writing a 200 page book as my thesis report, which is not considered to be good, which is basically a seed for cutting marks, a seed for penalties, because you're supposed to write very short articles in your thesis, right? 50 pages, 60 pages. I wrote 200 pages. There was a reason behind it, and the reason was to pitch it to authors, book authors, and that is why I wrote it like a book excerpt rather than a research paper format. So even though I knew I could be penalized for this, I was satisfied in what I did, and I thought even if I went back in time, I would do the exact same thing because I enjoy this. So then I observed myself working towards satisfaction rather than outcome. This was a success for me before graduation. So I did not care what is going to happen in my graduation. If I'm going to lose my distinction, if I'm going to lose my publishing, whatever is going to happen, I am happy right now. I will be happy then as well. After this realization, I noticed that I have already subconsciously started imbibing goal number 5 in my life. This was the success for me. I did end up achieving the distinction later on, but a bigger success for me is this realization which I did for point number 5 right before my graduation. So, just to summarize everything, all the 5 goals which we uh, discussed in this Vidped. So the first one was about competitive drive satisfaction when we were in high school. Everything was laid out. We didn't have to think even for a second. We would just enter this rat race, enter this streamlined competition tunnel, and see which one of us would fare first or second, and so on. So things were very easy at step number 1. At step number 2, we had to devise our own goals, right? So this was a bigger challenge for us when we stepped into our B.Tech programs. So goal number 2 for me was was the best professional time that I have ever had out of these 5 goals, which you can see over here. Why? Because in goal number 2, you have everything figured out. You know what you want to be at the age of 50. At the age of 50, I want to remain an automotive engineer. I would have had this rapport in advanced mobility. I would have had this Indian automotive network in front of me. So this was the best feeling. This was the most secure that I've ever felt professionally because everything was figured out. From detailed things to very broad things, everything was figured out by me. And people used to love this as well. Like if someone has everything figured out for himself or herself, this guy is a sorted person. That this is what we would use as a slang. So goal number 2 would was the best time of my professional life, but it was short-lived because of things which I could not control. I thought I'm more fit towards other things as well, which led me to a slightly exploratory goal, which was in search of knowledge and capability development. Knowledge and capability development doesn't have any limits, right? You can keep on adding layers and layers of knowledge to yourself, and you can end up overworking or have a state of an over ambition, which would compromise balancing, which is what happened to me. So I did perform well professionally, but I did not perform well socially or health wise while proceeding with goal number 3 and 4, especially 4. So while I was struggling to figure out what goal number 4 is and how I can achieve it, I had this critical realization of what success means, and success means happiness. And how would you get happiness? Took me a very long time to realize that incremental growth and progress orientation is the key for professional happiness and not over ambition. Took me a really long time to realize this. I was 25 when I did this realization. And yes, so I still believe, this is my current opinion at the moment. I still believe that goal number 5 is a faster and a more sustainable way for a balanced lifestyle and a good career. So, uh, like just having a small reflection on my electric bus experience, running around the city in search for that electric bus, measuring the dimensions. Well, I would not care if my dimensions would not match the electric bus dimensions, if my dimensions would fail, or if my food heating system would have been incompatible with the best dimensions. I would not care. I enjoyed that run. I enjoyed running around in search of that bus. I enjoyed that energy. I enjoyed that passion which we had. I enjoyed the feeling which we had when we caught that bus. This is what I want. So progress orientation is what I want, not outcome orientation. So this was my journey for the 5 goals. And before I end, I would just like to give a sneak peek on how I envision my career moving forward. So using this progress orientation and incremental growth, I would apply myself towards the spaceflight dynamics and control domain, which is a big challenge to get into, especially in Europe, because I'm a non-European by citizenship, and this is very closely related to defense and aerospace. That is why. And I am at the moment looking for startup opportunities where I can have a very broad view of the research avenues available in this domain. What all are the possibilities? How this industry works from this standpoint? How does the European Space Agency does its operations in the presence of private organizations who are working in space in Europe? And what are and if I look at guidance, navigation, and control, which is a discipline in this space flight dynamics,
Hmm.
is a PhD considered more valuable, or is having a diversified career considered to be more valuable? Can this be combined with space robotics as well in a PhD program? Is that more relevant? So I would plan to obtain this oversight while working for a startup in this domain. And I would also do some more extra courses from my university. I'm unenrolled, but there's an option to do that. So I would still, even when I'm graduated, I consider myself a student. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly enrolling into these new courses which are related to space flight. So I'll be pursuing these courses while working for a startup, forming my own opinions, my own perspective about this new industry, and then I'll see whether doing a PhD is a more fruitful option, or moving on to a bigger company is the next step forward. This is my career path. So yeah,
Okay, thank you,
thank you,
Kunal.
sir.
It is a very long and complicated story. You've gone through many steps in finding out who you are, but there's one constant, that is that you are an engineer, right? That
Yes.
is constant, and you are more or less a mechanical engineer. But what is the subfield? What is the real world issue? Yeah, many people face these issues, and you have your beliefs, you rather would want to match those beliefs with the workplace rather than do what the workplace wants. So, okay. Any final words? Have you, I mean, I sympathize with you because I understand that you have had changing views of your own self and so on. Okay. Any final words that you want to share with us?
Just find whatever you are comfortable to do, especially if you're an engineer,
Yeah.
and stick to that. Figure out a way to build a satisfactory career and a satisfactory life around it as well. So
Yeah.
it's more of a holistic approach rather than a single-minded approach.
Yeah.
This is what I would say to the people.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kunal. It was really fascinating to hear an engineer bear his heart out. You know,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for inviting me to this wonderful platform.
what makes an engineer tick? We got to hear what makes an engineer tick,
Thank
and
you,
it's
sir. And can I
interesting.
have some feedback on me as well? How was I in content generation and presentation?
Well, I think your presentation is very good. Your dialogue and style and all is polished by now. I mean, long ago you said you were an introvert. That is gone, long gone. I mean, you are as good as anybody else in explaining your ideas. A little bit brevity is more is sort of not there, but it's okay. This is Vidped and there's no time limit. You took good advantage of it. But in other places, you have to be sharper with your message. But this is
Yes,
okay here because the whole point is that there's no time limit. You took full advantage of it, and I'm happy because that is the point.
yes,
So
sir.
I'm not saying, hey, why did you take so long? No, fine, take as much time as you want. You took it. So you adjust it to the circumstances, and that's good. So you know what you are doing and you know how to do it. And you are rethinking yourself, and the world is changing, and you are reimagining yourself to the changing world. The EV situation in 2018 is not what it was in 2021. And there was no space for you in that new situation, and
Yes, sir.
Hyperloop, of course, is more of a dream than a reality. So we can talk about it, but we can't do it in any. Nobody's willing to pay the money to get it done. So I'm glad you have shifted to something that's actually practical. In
Yes,
space,
sir.
even in India, there's going to be more exploration in space, and the uh, engineering part of it will remain there. And
Indeed, sir.
so, it is certainly a good choice, I would say. I mean, from my perspective. So that's the comment I have. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, just some final words. Hyperloop I see Hyperloop as very realizable, but the reason for me not to continue over there is very few people doing research, and I would not get the opportunity for doing cutting edge research.
Okay,
So
so
that was a
space, fine.
yeah,
Space is actually the competition is heating up, and certainly India is interested in it, and Europe is also interested in it. Though I think I see more action in the US than in Europe, but that's okay. You have got your balance. All right.
yes,
Wonderful.
sir.
All right. So let's end it here, Kunal. Thank you so much. I'll be
Thank you,
back.
sir.
Don't go off. I will be back with another. I want to talk to you offline. I'll be back with
Yes, sir.
another young person or an expert soon. Till then, bye, everybody.